Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Clarification about the Dukhan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the last warning on March 13th, okay? 13th of March 2024, which was the middle of Ramadan. Allah said, this is my final and last warning before the smoke comes. Now, if we look back in August and September 2024, in several dreams of Habibatullah Ruqayya binti Ahmed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that after 7 months, He will make a big thing happen. And everyone shall know then that indeed Sister Ruqayya binti Ahmed from Indonesia is speaking the truth. That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala testifies through her. Yes. As I said, August and September, there were many dreams and also testimonies which spoke of 7 months. So these 7 months or 7 full moons are about to be completed now, okay? Now in April. It's around this time. Around this time. And for the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the last warning in the middle of Ramadan, this is also a sign that why is he giving the last warning then? It means it seems to be close, okay? It seems to be close, inshallah ta'ala. And now I'm gonna show you different dreams of brothers and sisters all around the world, which are subhanallah similar, which are about about the dukhan, about the smoke, and also about eruptions of volcanoes. And others even had dreams about meteorites falling from the sky. Subhanallah. That's a dream on the 30th of December 2024. He says, I saw how the black fog was like a supernatural event. It would move at a speed and engulf everything in its path from the skies to the ground level, and it would chase after the people who were running away from it. It was as if the black fog knew who to torment and who to not torment. Everywhere was pitch black. I couldn't see any light from the sun or moon. There was indeed chaos everywhere. Houses were broken into. Electricity was almost non-existent. Almost non-existent. I felt as if I was protected and I had the strength to run away with a small girl from the black fog, which was moving at a fast speed to engulf the people. Every time it came near me, I always escaped the black fog from engulfing me, and I didn't feel breathless or any kind of torment or fatigue. After a while, I entered a building that the scene shifted, and he saw that now the black fog was being lifted from the earth, and the clear blue skies were now visible compared to when the black fog came. Because while the black fog, it was pitch black darkness everywhere. Then the next dream is from a brother from Europe. And he said, in this dream, I found myself outside with my friends looking at the dark clouds slowly covering the sky. At first, we thought it was just normal clouds signaling rain. However, once the sky was fully covered, it became incredibly dark, sensing something unusual. We began reciting Subhan al-Quddus, Subhan al-Quddus, Rabbana al-Quddus. One of my friends advised me recite it 60 times to 100 times. I soon found myself at home, and the situation grew increasingly unsettling. The streets became full of mist, and as I looked out of the window, I saw a very long, thin white snake high up in the sky. So I rushed to close all the doors and windows and gathered my sisters and mother into one room for safety. At one point, I decided to go to the kitchen to bring food so we wouldn't starve. However, before I could, either my mother or one of my sisters called out to me, pointing to something and asking what is happening. So I responded, Search Dukhan. Subhanallah. The next dream is from a sister from Pakistan. She said, Today I had a dream about Dukhan. In my dream, I saw that my entire family, including my uncles, aunties, and everyone else, was on the balcony of a hotel. We were eating when I looked up at the sky and saw many moons. Some were full moons, some were half, some were crescent moons, and some were quarter moons, but there were a lot of them. When I saw these moons, I started shouting loudly to my whole family, telling them to look at the sky and see what's happening. Everyone looked up, and suddenly dark clouds began to gather in the sky. I smiled and loudly said, Allah's promise has been fulfilled. This is Dukhan. Everyone became worried and they believed what I was saying. I told my mother and uncle, this is the same Dukhan that Allah promised. Please come home with me quickly so we can seal the doors and windows. Um, I went to my father, told him that Dukhan had arrived and that we needed to seal the windows and every opening in the house. My father told me, let's go to the market and get silver tape. We'll seal everything with it so that the smoke of Dukhan cannot enter at any cost. It says in the end, she knew that Dukhan had arrived on a Friday. And the next one is a dream from a brother from Africa. And all these dreams were in the past months. In the past months. So this brother from Africa did even in the beginning of Ramadan. He says, I just dreamed while I was asleep. I was sitting somewhere with several people outside a house. Suddenly, one of the people I was sitting with told me in great fear, look, what is that? When I looked up, I saw two very large wings spread across the sky, and in front of those wings there was a strange black smoke spreading. Then I told my companion that this could be the black smoke. Suddenly, a sheikh came running in great fear, crying. He came to where we were and spoke to me in Arabic, but I did not understand him because he was speaking with great fear and while crying. However, I heard him mention the name Aisha, and then he said, listen to the adhan in the mosque. And indeed, the adhan was called at that moment. Then I woke up. And Habibatullah Ruqayya binti Ahmed, she also had a dream about the Dukhan, and she said, in my dream with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were looking at the sky with dark clouds. And in the dream, there were crawling creatures emerging from the earth with strange forms. I said, these creatures are a sign of the end times. After the Dukhan, creatures will appear in strange forms, but Allah has not yet interpreted it only for us. And in my dream, there was a black fog. Subhanallah. And guys, do you know in the Bible it's actually written that when the black smoke comes, there will come creatures from the earth, and these creatures will punish the disbelieving people. Another brother from Malaysia, he also had a dream just some weeks ago, which is not about the black fog, but about World War III. He said, in my dream, I was warning people I knew since high school that World War III is getting close and the war will be unlike anything you have seen before. And if they want to be in the safe group, they need to make dua and seek guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately. Then in another scene, the sky looked dark. That's interesting. He said the sky looked dark, and he saw that a non-hijabi woman was unalived by certain people, and then he saw a black winged creature appear out of nowhere and seemed like about to attack those evil people. Then another brother from Europe had a vision in awake state, okay, which is actually the same like that you are asleep, and you can also have khajaf, a vision, when you are awake, okay. And he said, it was early morning and I found myself standing in the streets and there was a powerful wind going through the air. The trees swayed violently, there was a hurricane and the clouds seemed heavy. So I thought to myself, these are signs from Allah, just as He sent warnings to the people of Yunus alayhi salam before his great punishment descended upon them. Then as I turned to my left and looked upon the sky, I saw a black smoke rising. Subhanallah. There's a sister from India. She had this dream last week. Okay, all these dreams about the Dukhan and stuff were all in the past months and weeks. Subhanallah. So she says, I saw in my dream that it was early morning and I went downstairs to get some errands done. So while going downstairs, I already knew in the dream that Dukhan was going to happen anytime. As I reached the ground floor, standing on the staircase, suddenly I was experiencing a dream come true inside the dream. Once I saw surroundings were filled with fog coming gently as grayish fog and the skies were getting darkened. When I understood this was the beginning of Dukhan, I immediately ran upstairs, realizing that I was also experiencing another dream coming true where I was running upstairs to warn my family members to prepare for Dukhan and to cover all gaps, doors, and windows. I was breathing in the fog while going upstairs, but I also didn't feel anything strangely. By now, the fog was filling up to the ground level already and becoming dense gradually. It moved in a suspenseful way, and the weather looked cloudy, gray skies with black streaks of clouds. Then I reached my flat and I watched green insects like a swarm of locusts so large, almost 10 to 20 centimeters, even flying within the fog from my windows. The skies were gradually darkening. I rushed to tell my mother in the living hall after entering my flat. Did you see that the punishment has arrived? My mother was confused, and in the dream I had a supervision. I could see where exactly the gaps were in the windows, and I realized that there were way too many gaps, and I was telling my mother to seal the gaps with a thick tape, otherwise the black smoke would enter through and harm us. They still didn't believe me until one to two locusts started entering through the window of the dining hall. I shouted in a loud voice, "Close the windows!" And my sister was standing there shocked, wondering what is happening. Immediately, I went to close the windows and tried to chase the locusts that entered inside to outside. So, subhanAllah, she saw in her dream black smoke and creatures, locusts coming. Subhanallah. Another dream of a sister, which is a little bit longer back now, already 4 years. She had it in August 4th, 2021. She says, in this dream, I was standing inside a bedroom that seemed to be not of my own, dimly lit by a flickering yellow light bulb in the room. In the backdrop of this bedroom, through the window, I saw scenes of the entire world in turmoil. There was a volcano erupting in the distance nearby from the window, and it was shooting out black smoke until it filled the skies. It seemed as if the entire world was facing volcano eruptions. The skies were filled with black ash, and many people, especially women and children, were out on the streets like an apocalyptic scene. They were dying and yet trying to save their loved ones who were lying on the streets, barely holding onto life. With oxygen tanks running out and becoming a shortage, lung issues being out of breath was prevalent. Even oxygen tanks couldn't save them. Death was everywhere. Death was everywhere, and sunlight couldn't reach through the skies. The atmosphere was very gloomy and filled with darkness. It felt as if the entire world was facing several types of disasters altogether catastrophic. Then she had a dream just 1 month ago on March 9th, 2025. She said, in my dream, I thought I woke up from my sleep and I was startled to see the skies became black and I had and had purple lightning within them. It was a scary sight. I remembered feeling shocked that the punishment suddenly arrived. Then on March 21st, 2025, she said, I saw in my dream that I and a witness from Ahmed Habibi group, we were seeing the Dukhan arrive and we both witnessed how it was a painful punishment, although we both didn't feel harmed in the dream, but we felt the torment which others felt.